Let's copy these initial parts here because we're gonna pretty much deal with the same thing. So we need to get the name from the label for. We don't have a class for the text field, but we could potentially have it, but for now it's fine. We want the option name because for the same issue that we dealt with before, we want all this stuff be part of one single slot in our database. We don't want to save these in multiple fields, in multiple rows in our database. Everything it's in an array, a serialized array inside one single settings field, one single option. So we need to get the option name and then check for the actual value of that option. But here we're not checking if it's checked, but we wanna grab the value, so we can just return the value of this thing without doing any validation on any condition. But here let's change the checkbox from checkbox variable name to actual input. This is the input name or the text field, or you can call it whatever you want. You can call it like field, whatever, it's the name of the field, but input, it's fine. So we have the input, and the value variable gets the value by passing the key, the name key, that in our case is the post type or label for, whatever, it's identical, and it's grabbing the post type from within the AliCAD plugin CPT option. So that's perfect. Now we need to generate just a little bit of HTML and echoing out with our text field. So let's create an input, type equal text, class, let's use a regular class of WordPress, regular.text. So we're gonna have a consistent style. The name, it's gonna be equal to the actual name that we're passing here. So basically, same thing here. We can copy DID and the name and paste it here. The ID is identical to the name we're passing, and the name is as well the option name, and in the square brackets the name, because we want to store these in an array like we saw in a previous lesson. And then we need to pass the value that by default is going to be empty, but if something is in there, we should have it from the variable value. So we're gonna have a filled up variable if this form has already a custom post type or something in it. And if we want, we can also specify a placeholder text that, of course, we cannot just manually write insert whatever we want to insert. We need to pass a data as a placeholder. So let's update this array by passing another parameter here called, of course, placeholder. And we can give a bunch of instructions to our user. You could potentially say example, e.g. product, like the name of the custom post type. Let's duplicate this. For the singular name, we can give an example as product. And then here we can give an example as plural name as products. We don't need to have a placeholder for the checkboxes. That's perfect. So let's go back here and let's manage to grab the arguments checkboxes. And because we don't need to deal with that variable anywhere, we can simply just paste it in line and just concatenate this thing, then period, period, and then directly tap the arguments placeholder. Perfect. And let's remember to close the input field. Awesome. So now in the custom post type controller, we generated the settings called the AliCAD plugin CPT. That is going to be the name, unique name that we're going to have in our database saved in that field. We have the sections that takes care of just printing a simple message. So it's just the introduction of these sections. And then we generated the 5 basic fields that we need in order to handle everything for our custom post type. So let's activate this thing by, we can do a couple of things, or we concatenate this and we method chain the register method here at the end, or we could potentially call the entire settings API, add the subpages, and add the register directly after the set settings, set sections, and set fields. Everything is concatenated. We're tapping the same settings because we're initializing once. So after we set everything, we have all the specific and important variables and important arrays, we can call the registration. So let's save it. Let's go back in our backend and let's see if we broke something. Yes, we did. So here we have in the CPT callbacks on line 27, expecting comma, instead we have a semicolon. I did something wrong. CPT callbacks on line 27, expecting, oops, So sorry guys, I shouldn't have a semicolon there. And also I forgot to concatenate this. Oh my bad, this was really silly, so sorry. Okay, let's refresh. Perfect, nothing is happening here. The custom post type manager section is completely empty, but at least we don't have a PHP error, which is fantastic. And if you're wondering why we have this empty custom post type here, so this empty slot, is just because of the way I wrote the placeholder text that I'm gonna fill up later in a bit for the generation of the custom post type. I'm pre-filling this custom post type array with just the post type test. Everything else is empty, and I have some default settings, and then because the custom post types is not empty, I'm registering that custom post type with this method that you guys probably copy pasted from the GitHub repo, but just because I specified the test custom post type unique ID but nothing else, I have the custom post type, but it's completely empty. So no worries, it's just like a placeholder I need it for like 2 tests as a test, but just leave it like that and completely ignore it. It's gonna be fine. So what we have to do now, we have to fill up the page. So if we open the templates folder and we open the cpt.php here, we're just printing the h1, which is pretty silly. Let's open the admin section, and basically we're gonna almost copy everything, but we don't need the tabulation, we don't need the tabs here. So let's change things. Let's copy the wrap because we want to use the default style of WordPress. So let's wrap around everything this div, and of course, as usual, we want to tap the settings error. So automatically, if we're going to save something, we're going to edit something, we're going to have an error, everything is going to get printed by WordPress automatically. And here we can also grab the form and paste it directly here. Of course, let's format it properly. The form post goes to the action options.php, which is fantastic. The settings field is not AliCap plugin settings anymore, but is what we define in the custom post type controller for our set settings. Here is the option group AliCap plugin CPT settings that we're printing everything. And for the do settings section, instead of the AliCap plugin, that is the default one that we're using in our admin, we need to pass the actual menu slug of the page that we're using. And this is a super confusing thing of WordPress, because you could think that in the actual page, when you're calling the do settings sections, you need to actually tap the option name that we're defining the settings. No, the option name is necessary for the set fields to be attached, but then every single field is actually attached to the page. So to print the sections, we need to tap the sections page, which is super confusing, but that's how WordPress works. So instead of AliCap plugin is AliCap CPT. Let's save it. Let's go back in our administration area. Let's click on the CPT manager. And there you go. Now we have all our beautiful content with the title of the page that we can actually change or remove, whatever. But we have the set sections where we have our title and the description, beautiful description, and then the custom post type ID, singular name, plural name, and the public and archive checkbox toggles that work. Perfect. So let's give it a run and let's try to save something. Let's say that my custom post type is comic book, or actually I want to give it lowercase. And of course here you can see that I can potentially write everything I want. I can also write numbers, special characters, something that shouldn't be allowed here, but we're gonna deal with this. Other than the sanitization in the backend, we're gonna also deal with this in the front end with some JavaScript, but in future lessons. So let's write for now just simply comic-book, something like that, really straightforward. Or actually remove the dash just like to be easy, and then here we can write the name comic book, and here comic books. Awesome. And then let's say yes, we want the public and we want to archive. Save the changes. Okay, settings have been saved. And in fact, if I open the CPT manager, I have this section here. I have all my custom post type information that have been saved. If I access my database with SQL Pro and scroll all the way down in my WP options section, you see we have the AliCap plugin CPT that we saved. And here we have the full list of array and everything. We have the post type with comic book, singular name, and blah, blah, blah. We have all our super cool information. That's fantastic. Now let's take care of tapping this information and dynamically generate the custom post type based on what we defined. So let's go back in our custom post type controller, and let's scroll down in this store custom post types method that I generated, where I am filling up these custom post types multidimensional array. So what we have to do, we need to tap the unique method or unique option that we saved in our database, in our case the AliCap plugin CPT, and for all this information that I have in here, for every single array of data, I want to use these data to fill it up, to populate that array. So let's do it. So first, let's define a variable just in here called option, and it's equal to get option. And the get option we know is the AliCap underscore plugin underscore CPT, the unique name that we manually defined. So because we're storing an array, we can use the for each to loop between all the options, and we can say for each options. Actually, let's rename these in options. It makes more sense, as we don't need to use key value because we want to have just the option available, and we can tap the value by knowing the option that we want to tap, or like the key that we want to tap. Let's cut all this code from here and let's put it inside the for each loop. So every time we loop, we're going to add a new array to this multidimensional arrays variable. The post type we need to tap first. We need to tap the dollar option, that is a singular one. We need to tap the key, of course, post type that we're saving. Then we can tap the plural name, we're saving it that way, and then we can tap the singular name, singular underscore name, and then let's scroll all the way down here. Be careful here, I'm copy pasting also the commas, that's a mistake. Let's scroll all the way down, and let's say that the public, it's here, perfect, is the option public that we have there, and then the has archive is right here. Has archive, has underscore archive. And let's give a default capability type to post, but we're gonna take care of that later. Okay, perfect. So here we should fill something up because we cannot leave that empty. Otherwise, it's gonna be like completely madness. It's gonna be like pretty insane. So what we can do, because all these stuff are basically repeated arguments that are using the plural and the singular name, we can fill it up automatically without asking the user to fill up these options. In the future, of course, we're gonna extend completely the functionality of this by doing it dynamically. But for now, just for like speed things up, we are gonna do it by ourselves. So the menu name is identical to the plural name, and we can reuse it. The name in the admin bar is identical to the singular name, so we can copy that as well. The archives is using the singular name, but it's concatenating also with, of course, archive. So in our case, we have a comic books, and the singular name is comic book. It's going to be comic book archives, and let's give it a space. Same thing goes for the attributes. We can have a comic book space attributes. That's perfect. Then the parent item column as well is the singular name, but here we can say parent space concatenate with the singular name. So it's parent comic book, whatever makes sense. All items is simply all comic books. So let's paste it here and let's copy the plural name. Wonderful. Then the add new item can be regular, like add new comic book with the singular name. We can copy this. So add new comic book. Awesome. Add new usually is simply add new, is not redefined. Like, I mean, we can give the user the ability to redefine this later, but by default, add new is just pretty straightforward. New item is usually new and then the singular name. So we can copy once again this thing, copy and paste it here. Edit item is, of course, edit, paste, singular name. So edit comic book. Update item is identical, update space, singular comic book. View item is okay, it's identical. View, comic book, blah, blah, blah. So as you can see, this is really tedious and kind of annoying, but if we want to make a properly modular plugin, we need to fill up all this section with this annoying part that are kind of repeated, because in the future, we're going to take care of fill it up dynamically based on the option of the user. So if the user actually specifies a different name for one single key, we can replace it. Otherwise, we can automatically populate it with the name of the custom post type, and it looks way more professional than having just the default add new, edit, or update. If we have the edit and the name of the custom post type, it looks way better. So let's continue doing these shenanigans over and over again. So the view items, if of course identical to view, but in this case we're gonna use the plural name. Then the search item is search and then plural again, so search comic books. Here we can have not found, can be no space, the singular name, comic book, concatenate again, found, and let's make it a space, and we can use the same format for the trash, so no comic book found in trash, really eloquent and descriptive. The future image, let's leave it consistent with the default option of WordPress. Always use it, feature image. Let's not modify it for our custom post types because it's gonna be kind of weird for the user. And of course here, let's replace with set featured image. And here we can say remove featured image. And here use, and let me copy this because I'm tired of writing future image over and over again. Insert into item can be changed to insert into and the singular name of our custom post type. So insert into the comic book. Perfect. Upload to this item can be replaced to upload to this, and here also comic book. Perfect. Item lists, we're almost at the end, no worries. Item lists or items list is the plural name, so it's comic books. And concatenate with list, comic books list, and here items list navigation, it's what appears in the navigation and can be pretty much identical, but here items list navigation, and let's have this list uppercase just to be more consistent with what we're writing. Filtered items list, we can copy the plural name, but of course put something else here as concatenate before, so it's filter comic books list, which is pretty great. Label and description, the label can be just a singular name, we don't need to specify anything else, and the description can be just the plural name and then concatenated with the word custom post type. So it's gonna be comic books custom post type or stuff like that. Supports, let's leave it to default. The taxonomy is array, we can leave it by default to categories if we want, like category and post tag. So let's leave category and post tag. So by default, automatically all these custom post types that are gonna generate are gonna have and inherit the ability to check categories and post tags, the usual things, but also in the future, we're gonna give the user the ability to manage these customly. So it's gonna be pretty cool. Hierarchical, let's leave it at that. Show UI, yes. Menu position 5, it's fine. Can export, has archive, excludes some search for, public equitable, and capability post. Awesome, we did it. We filled up all the default information, or like all the information for our custom post type, which is fantastic. Now that we have this thing, let's go check what's happening in our administration area. Let's refresh. Whoa, we have a lot of error here. Offset singular. Oh, it's not grabbing the offset. So let's do something. Let's print whatever we have in this option here, var dump. Let's print the option and let's actually interrupt our script by saying, hey, die here. I don't want to see all these errors, so let's print. Oh, we have just the comic book thing. So it's grabbing the first parameter here is just the post type. So for every option, we are having the option name. Okay, so this is just an array. So we don't need to get the full option things. We don't need to do a for each. This is, sorry, I went a little bit a step ahead. So let's replace this. Let's actually comment these out. For now, the for each, we don't need to loop between the for each because we have just one data inside, and everything is gonna make sense later. But let's replace the option with options. So let's grab everything. Let's select every single one of these. And 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, boom. Okay, and let's replace it with options. Perfect. Let's go back in our admin area. Let's refresh. Okay. Look what we have here. Now in the custom post type manager, we have our custom post type filled up with our information, and then the comic books custom post type. And as you can see here, all the information that I printed are there. The name, comic books. I have no comic book found. If I click add new, I'm gonna have add new comic book. That's perfect. It's completely empty because I forgot to give some support. So if we go back to source code here, and if we scroll all the way to the support, here I set to false. Instead, this one should be an array of options, and usually the array of options includes the default title, and then the editor, and then the thumbnail. These are the default supports for the custom post type. So we go back here, let's refresh, add new again. And now we have the title, the editor, and the set future image here. And we also have categories and tags, like post tags, categories that we set up, which is pretty fantastic. So everything makes sense in terms of the post type. The problem is now that this works only in one way. So if we go back in our custom post type manager and say, okay, I have this custom post type. Now I want to save another custom post type, for example, products. I cannot do it because if I do product here and I change these to products, actually this is singular, and I save the changes. Yes, the changes have been saved, but my comic book custom post type is completely gone and I just have products. I don't want to have the ability only to save one single post type each time. And if we access our database, of course, and we refresh the data, the full list of data that we have here is just like handling just one information, just one post type each. That's why also I had those errors here when I was trying to do the for each, because we don't have many options. We just have one single option saved in one single array. So this issue, we're gonna deal with that in the next lesson, where we're gonna create a modular, like a repeater field ability in the custom post type manager to add as many custom post types as we want and store them into a multi-dimensional array inside our WP options table. In this way, we can have as many custom post types as we want, and we're gonna list them all here, and having the ability to edit the custom post type, manage extra options, and all these kind of crazy shenanigans. I know this section is getting really long and really complicated. I'm sorry if you're confused and if you cannot understand why we're doing this. It's just because I want to be really thorough, and I want to show you and explain to you every single step to generate properly everything with this super gigantic code. And that's kind of like the way that WordPress works. That's why like the majority of developers, they just use thousands of different plugins. But having the ability to create your own plugin and understanding deeply how WordPress manages all this information will give you the freedom that you need in order to build everything that you want. So that's the thing. So it's pretty much it for today's lesson. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. And if you want, you can check the support me page of my website, where you can find all different ways and methods to support me, support my channel, and help me to do better videos and better tutorials for you. Thank you again, guys, and until the next lesson, as usual, happy coding!